So today we have Rodolfo talking about preventing big disasters when updating WordPress. I was talking to Diego earlier, and the tip is don't update. You might end up with bigger disasters, for sure. Yeah, we're fine. I first met Rodolfo about 4 years ago. It was a long time ago, and he's a WooCommerce expert, but he's branching into WordPress now, and he knows what he's saying. So I'll hand it over to him.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to use this, if that's okay. It's just so annoying. Right, so I'm actually happy it's raining, right? Because you have to be ready for that rainy day when you're running a WordPress or a WooCommerce site. What's the same? A WordPress site. So how many of you have a website live right now? All right, 90% of the people. Okay. So this is great, and mostly people who are starting now, because you're going to save 6 years of troubles just by listening to this 20 minutes, actually 30 minutes. Now we're going to do a panel with any questions you might have of WordPress. So Simon is going to join me, I don't know whether, and we can do open questions. So I've got half an hour. I'm just going to use this. Right, I'm right in the middle of the screen, so I don't like that. What's an update, first of all? An update is, first of all, it could be a WordPress update, a plugin update, a theme update, or a translation update. So you get this, it's actually not just one thing, it could be a multiple update of any of this. And it could be something that goes to fix a bug, all right? Something that goes to fix a security hole, and that's the major one, the one you have to pay more attention to. Or it could be just a new feature, all right? So there is not just one kind of update. And my goal is to actually tell you what they are before we see what problems we can have with our own WordPress website. So what's a bug fix? Well, you probably know that. You've been using Windows or whatever you guys are using. There is always a new version of a software that goes to fix a bug, right? So same thing happens with WordPress. New versions are released to fix problems with previous versions, and this happens quite often. As well as adding new functionalities or making it work better, making it faster. That's a new functionality, a new feature, or an enhancement, or a security patch, and that's the biggest thing. That's why you have to know what's going on in the WordPress world, maybe join some Facebook groups or some newsletters to know why that update is being released and what's inside that update. Are they fixing something major that you have to update within 2 seconds or you risk of being hacked, or can you take your time? Does that make sense so far? Okay, hopefully I scared you enough. Right. What are the different updates? Once again, I'm going to repeat this because it's very important. There might be an update required for the whole WordPress software, so that's called for the core, okay? Or it could be for your theme that you're using, or even themes that you're not using because you left them there in your dashboard, which you shouldn't, all right? But let's say for your active theme, there is an update available. And plugins, that's the ones who are causing more problems usually, or translation. Translation shouldn't be a problem usually, so if you see a translation update, just do it. Hopefully it's not going to cause anything. But this is a very important slide. So there are updates and there are big updates, or if you want, minor, major, and even more important ones. So I call it major S, okay? And you will see this sometimes. A new update for WordPress is available, and it's 4.7.5. All right? Now, you don't need to be a tech to understand this. What this is saying is that I'm changing this little number there in the version. Does that make sense? So it's a minor update. That's the third number. I'm not going from version 4 to version 5. I'm not even going from version 4.7 to version 4.8. I'm actually going from 4.7.4 to 4.7.5. So it's a minor update. All right, so first thing you have to think before clicking that button is this minor, is this major? All right, all clear so far? And inside a WordPress update or theme update or plugin update or translation update, there could be new files that are being changed, or there could be a bigger change. For example, change to the database. They're adding tables. Now I don't want to go into technical stuff, but they could add tables, they could remove tables, or the new files could add new functions or remove old functions. And this is why your website is going to get broken after you do an update, because something changes and you have to know, is this a big change or a small change? Is this affecting my plugins or is this not affecting my plugins? So you have to think about the database change, because if you did a backup of your files and you think you're safe, you go updating and you break your site. That's because the database was changed as well. So you have to back up your files, but also you have to back up your database. Remember WordPress? It's database on one side, files on the other side. You have to have both before you update.
So Rodolfo, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Which plugin or software do you recommend for backing up your website?
Right. So there are so many plugins that allow you to update, to back up files and database. So you can use one of those. But I prefer if your hosting was providing that functionality, because you're not backing up WordPress from inside WordPress with a plugin. You're backing up WordPress on your hosting. So if something happens on your site, you have this on an external server you can recover. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I use both, just for peace of mind. So Updraft Plus, or I'm sure there are a million different plugins that provide backup. And
Updraft is a free one.
yeah, Updraft is free or premium. They're all freemium, premium. Depends which way you go.
What do you think of WordPress cloned by WP Academy?
We will actually talk about cloning sites. This is more, we're still talking about backup. So backup is just creating files and database, dumping the database into a file or copying the file somewhere else, but it's not really a clone on the side. We
Just
get
take a backup,
yeah, exactly. So, and you want that more often, I mean very often, and mostly before updating your site. So do it twice, okay? We will talk about that later on. Now, I want to tell you one thing that is going to be really, really important, because we don't have time, because we don't get paid enough, and because we need to sell, or we need to be live at all times. So our time is limited. We want to know before we update what's the difference between vital and non-vital update. I think this is really important. Not many people talk about this. So let's imagine that I have an e-commerce site. Would you think that WooCommerce plugin, an update for WooCommerce plugin, is vital or non-vital? Well, you know the answer already. So it's, WooCommerce for an e-commerce site is absolutely vital for the running on the website. Does that make sense? So whenever there is a WooCommerce update available and you have an e-commerce site, think twice. Does that make sense? Same thing, not an e-commerce site, maybe a portfolio site. You're a graphic designer or web designer, have a portfolio site. Your goal for that site is to get inquiries, right? So if there is an update for Contact Form 7 or any of those inquiry plugins or contact plugins, you think twice before updating that, because that's your vital core of the website. Does that make sense? So I want to compare this to, let's say, example number 4. Once again, you have a portfolio website and you have your Akismet or Jetpack or something that is not really vital for the running of the business, that's, to me, it's a non-vital update. So once you get this A versus B example, you also have an idea of when you need to think twice before updating and when you're probably going to be okay with it. Does that make sense? Okay, all clear? Good. So here is a problem. Not all plugins, themes, and, well, WordPress, yes, but not all plugins and themes are created equal. So if you're using WordPress, you probably are using a combination of free plugins or free themes that are available on WordPress.org website and premium themes and or plugins that you buy from somewhere else. Okay? Is that the case? Possibly 99% of the websites that have premium and free. And free are available on wp.org. Premium plugins, and we have a few plugin developers and theme developers in this room right now, and sometimes they don't tell you directly. You've seen this before, right? There is a new version of Updraft Plus, Backup, Restore, Update. You've seen that before, right? But that only happens for free plugins and themes, more or less. It depends how good the premium developers are to let you know that something is available. So not always you have a situation where it's telling you there is something that needs updating, and not always you're 100% sure that that WooCommerce update or that WordPress update is not going to break your site, because there might be a premium update somewhere else that is not telling you that is actually available, and that's the reason why your theme is broken, or the reason why your shopping cart is broken. Okay? So you also have to make sure that every time you buy a plugin or a theme, they have notifications into your email inbox or in there to let you know that a new update is available. Okay, so we've now seen what are the different kinds of updates. Still no problems so far, and still no dangers, and still no disasters. But why should we update? And that's possibly the answer to this is going to tell us how soon we should update, how often, how, and all, a lot of different other problems that we're going to see later on. So why should we update? Let's imagine you haven't looked at this slide. Why should we update a plugin or a theme or WordPress? Does anyone? Any volunteer?
Get new features.
New features? Security?
Bug fix.
Bug fix. Okay, so now you can look at the slide. Of course, if you don't update, it's more likely that your website is going to break. Okay, that's the non-techie answer. In particular, you're reducing the risk that your website might be hacked, right? It's easier for the hacker to get into your site if it's not updated. Why? Because the code is old, they know their way in, and it's more likely that they can hack your site. That's pretty straightforward. Third, of course, if you don't update, you're not using the new code that has been provided by the developers, and therefore, if that new release was to make your site faster, was to fix something that was slow, was to improve performance, you're not doing it. So that's a good reason why you should update. And finally, to remove conflicts. Now this is the magic word in WordPress. It might be techy, but basically what I'm saying is very simple. There is a plugin such as WooCommerce. There is another plugin such as WooCommerce blah blah blah. There might be a conflict between those two plugins. And a conflict means your checkout is going to get broken, for example. So you never know what plugin is working with whatever other plugin unless you test them and unless you keep them updated, because new releases usually are to fix these sort of problems between third-party plugins or between themes and plugins. Problem is, you might create a new conflict with some other plugin. So you have to be super, super careful when you go updating your theme, your plugins, and your translations. Now, when to update? This is probably $1 million question, and if you go onto online forums for WordPress, you're gonna get so many different answers. Even within this room, one person will tell you immediately, one other person will tell you wait a couple of days, another person will tell you don't. So you never know when to update. But my opinion is this. First of all, you have to know what that release is about. So that's why I spent almost 10 minutes trying to explain what the differences are between different releases. It could be a bug fix, it could be a security problem. So security problem, boom, you have to update fast, because that means that your site could be hacked tomorrow if you didn't do that. So you have to read the release notes, and that's something that no one does. And they only read them after your site is broken. So you want to do that before breaking your site. Just read, right, in this 4.7.4 update, we've fixed A, B, C, and D. We have added A, B, C, and D, and there was a security hole that we've now patched. So you want to have this sort of information before you do absolutely anything. Doesn't matter if you click one button, if you do it manually, you still want to have this sort of information. So for premium plugins, where the information is not usually available, they might have a newsletter. Sign up to their newsletter, they will tell you what's in the new release. WooCommerce, they have a developer blog. Sign up to the developer blog and see what's in every new release. WordPress itself, same thing. Plugins, they have those notifications on your dashboard. Instead of clicking on the update now, click on the other link that says read the information of the version release. Does that make sense? So you want to have that information before you even think what you need to do next. And what you need to do next is evaluating or assessing how important that release is to your website. First of all, are you live or are you still developing the site? So if you're live and you're making money and you're making sales through the website, you have to be maybe 1,000,000 times more careful. If you're still developing the site, you can chance it if you have no time, okay? But that won't cause problems to the business, more or less. You never know. How soon should you be doing that? Do you need to update that website during the night? So are you being paid as an agency, or are you your own, it's your own site? When should you update? Do you want to update at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, or you want to update at midnight on a Saturday? So that's really important as well, to understand when is the right time to update. And after you've decided all these criteria, you want to take a backup. And this backup has to be a working backup. So actually the clone idea is a great idea, because the clone is an actual website, while a backup is files. Who knows if those files you've just copied into your backup are actually going to work? Are you missing some files? Are you missing the database? Did you forget to copy images? Well, then you've lost everything. So you have to make sure that the backup is actually working. You have to try that restore button sometimes to see if it's actually working, because otherwise we just wasted your time. And only then, so we just spent probably, let's say, 5 hours, only then you update. Okay, so the problem that we do most of the time, and that I've seen in the last 6 years, is we start from 6, right? And then we go backwards. That doesn't really make sense, really. So you want to think, you want to know what the situation is, and then you update. So, as I was saying earlier on, you cannot see it behind this, but a little update is available for this plugin, right? And instead of clicking on the update now link, you can click on the information release, information regarding the release note. And this window opens, okay? So what does this window say? This new release 3.0.6 has been done on the 9th of May, and it contains fix 1, fix 2, fix 3, fix 4, fix 5. And it tells you absolutely everything. Now, you don't need to be a developer to actually understand this. It might be a little bit too technical, but it actually isn't. And if you see that word, that magic word, fix, that means that something was broken in the previous version. So possibly it's a major change. And what they're trying to tell you is update so that you go fixing something that is broken. All right? So that update might solve a few problems that you might be having. Does that make sense? But if we didn't read this, we didn't know. So why do we click on that update button? I don't know. Just read the information first. Second, sign up, as I said, to the newsletters. So this is the WooCommerce blog for developers. It's called Develop WooCommerce. So if you Google Develop WooCommerce, you will find their blog. And every time there is a new release, they send out a newsletter. All you have to do is sign up to that. Of course, it's free. Once again, it tells you what has been done in that version. It's a no-brainer. It's a 1-minute read that might save your life, okay, in that rainy day. Once again, is the website live? Yes, no. Are you generating traffic? Yes, no. Are you generating sales? Yes, no. These 3 questions, ask them every time before you do anything, because you have to be more careful if your website is live, okay? And we spoke earlier on about major, minor, and very, very major updates, right? Very quick example. So WooCommerce released 3.0 version recently. Now, if you follow me, that 3.0 is a major update because it's going from 2.6.14 to 3.0. So it's skipping the whole thing. Is that clear, or is it a little bit too techy? So it's skipping from 2.6.14, for example, to 3.0.0. So it's changing the first number. So that's a major change in WooCommerce. That's how you know when something is major and when something is not. When something is major, what happens the day after? All the other plugins that are depending on that plugin, this was the WooCommerce, but it happens for all the others as well. They started to have conflicts or errors or problems, right? So they have to release patches. So hence the 3.0.1 2 days after. And then the 3.0.2 a week after, and so on. So in the month of April, there were 6 important updates for WooCommerce only, and that's because they were finding out more problems with it. So this should help you understand when to update. Easy question. Would you have updated WooCommerce to version 3.0.0 on the 5th of April? Answer, I don't think that was it. That would have been a good idea. Because you know that when a new version is released, loads of other problems arise. So hold on a little bit, because they're going to release soon patches for that version. Does that make sense? So that's when you know if it's a major, if it's a minor, how to proceed, when to update, how to update, okay? So I know I'm going too slow. 3 ways to update. The one that we all know, which is the one click, the one that we all click on our dashboard that says, click now, one button, as quick as that. There is the automatic way, that's the semi-automatic. There is the automatic way, which we don't know about, and there is the manual way, okay? And I like this slide a lot. So whether you are the agency or whether you are the entrepreneur, you really want to cover everything. And automatic updates. Automatic updates, they're the ones that your hosting does. Okay? And recently I had a big problem with that. I didn't know my hosting updated my site, it broke it, and I said, how come I'm running the latest version of WooCommerce? I didn't do that. The hosting has an automatic functionality that does that for me. I said, I don't want that. Contacted them the day after, said, disable that please, and that's what I did. So make sure your hosting is not messing with all this problem, because you definitely don't want those automatic updates. Second, you want to back up. Third, never update a live site without testing on another site. I know that this is time consuming, but you have to do that. And hopefully by the end of today you will understand why. Never update a live site unless you have access to your files, so to your hosting, and I would add, unless you have access to a working backup as well. So there is another thing to be added. And as our friend introduced earlier on, we will now see why cloning the site is a much better way of updating your site. Much safer. And as I said, time is money. So is this a major or minor problem, or a release? Is this vital, secondary? Is this a security patch or a new functionality I can wait a few days to implement? My site is live, my site is under development, and what's my budget? Because sometimes as a freelancer, you're not paid to do updates. So should you do them, or should you wait for the client? What if the site breaks in the meantime? Okay, that's very, very important. Right, how do you disable automatic updates? Easiest thing, contact your hosting, say, do we have automatic updates? Yes, no, okay, can you disable them? Otherwise, you can add a couple of PHP lines to your wp-config.php file in the root of your WordPress site. I know it's techy, but it doesn't matter. You can just take this slide. By the way, you're going to get the slides at the end, so don't worry. And disable them, right? So first problem out of the way. You don't want automatic updates. Sorry guys, I know that was a very fancy and nice thing to have, but it might break your site, so we don't want it. Second, this is a nice trick. There's lots of coding. Don't look at that. My trick is, you know those plugin and team notification that says, hey, there's a new update, read the release notes, or update now, and there's a link. This piece of code, disable that link, and instead prints, there is a new version of plugin, blah, 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 and then go test the update on your staging site. So I'm deleting completely the update now link button, so you know it doesn't become automatic anymore. Does that make sense? So it's a little bit tricky, but it works. So the notification becomes like this instead. Here usually there is the update link button. Instead I print my own text, and in that way I go out of the one-click update now system, which is not a good idea. And this is the most important thing of everything. Doesn't matter if you're updating, doesn't matter if you're developing, doesn't matter if you're adding something to your live site, doesn't matter if you're troubleshooting. You never want to do that on your live site. You want to do that on a clone of your site, or as we say, on a staging version of your site. It's the same thing, more or less, okay? Staging is the most underestimated functionality in the whole WordPress world because it's expensive, right? That's the difference between a €4 a month hosting and maybe a €9 a month hosting. That difference gives you better functionalities and possibly gives you staging. Most hosting companies, they provide you with staging, SiteGround, WP Engine, and so on, but the bigger part of it, they don't. So you have to choose the right hosting to have this magic thing that we're going to see now, how it works. If you don't have it, my thinking, change hosting. It's very simple, but it doesn't matter. So it's up to you. So staging is an independent, this is very important, an independent clone of your site that can be created with one click, right? So you're not cloning your site with another plugin, creating a new database, creating a new WordPress. You're staging with one click. That's why it is so handy, okay? Staging with one click. When you do the updates, the changes, the new functionalities, the troubleshooting on the staged copy, you can push back that into the live with another click. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm not cloning the site, doing the job on the clone, doing the updates on the clone, testing on the clone, and then going back to live and doing the same thing all over again. And one click, duplicating the site, doing the job on the site, one click, pushing the changes onto the live site back because I know that they work at this stage. So it's a 5-minute thing as opposed to a 5 hours thing, okay? So very, very important. Here's an example. That's my Happy Hosting company, and I have a list of all my sites. businessbloomer.com, create staging copy, one click, I duplicate my site almost instantly. 30 seconds later, I have a dashboard. I can access staging6.businessbloomer.com. That's an exact copy of my site that no one can see, only I can, because you can password protect it. And I can do everything I want on that site, updates, testing, new functionalities, design changes, new plugins. Is this going to work with this? Is this theme better than Team B or Team A? So you can do anything you like. You can log in straight away. And now that you are on a staging site or on a clone, or it's not your live site, now that you're on the staging site, to me, you can even go and click on those auto update links. I don't care. It's a copy, right? I'm not affecting the live site with 2,000 users per day traffic. I'm affecting my copied version of the site, and nothing is going to happen, right? So I can even bulk update all those plugins, all those themes. I know that that's not really the right thing, but my time is limited. But at least I'm sure if I'm going to break something, I'm going to break the staging site. Who cares? So I can destroy that copy, create another one in 30 more seconds, and actually understand what's going on. Okay? Does that make sense? So, how do you know that a site is working? Once again, come back to your business model. Are you an e-commerce site? Are you a portfolio site? Are you a B2B, B2C? There are pages that define whether there are pages that need to work. All right, your e-commerce, your cart checkout, and my account pages need to work. Okay, if the About Us page is broken, that's not a problem. Okay, your portfolio site, your contact form, your About Us page, your home page have to work, right? So that's how you do the testing of your site after you update. You actually go looking. You can look at my 139 pages and I don't know how many posts, like over 400 posts and everything. I just go check the home page, the cart, the checkout. All right, it makes sense. If those are working, there is a chance that the rest is working as well. So try to have a list of things that you have to check every time after an update to see if you've broken something. In my case, home page, is it okay? Yes, no. Cart, is it okay? Yes, no. Checkout. If everything looks okay, it's not over. And what you want to go is looking for PHP errors. PHP errors arise after an update, very likely. So it's a little bit technical, but once again, you go back to your wp-config.php file in the root of your WordPress installation. You enable wp-debug true instead of false, and from that moment on, you will have your PHP errors printed on the screen. So if you go to cart, if you go to checkout, if you go to the admin, you're going to start reading, oh, great, you updated to WooCommerce 3.0. Well, this other plugin is used in a function that doesn't exist yet, for example. So it'll tell you what the problem is. Chances are that plugin is out of date, need updating as well. Okay? So you want to use these a lot while you're testing. And this is a case study. So after all this, you probably say, oh, I wish I didn't come because I'm so confused. Case study. So the other day, 29, what is it, 2 days ago? 3 days ago? I was on my live site, businessbloomer.com. I go into my dashboard and I start seeing all these notifications. You probably know, 90% use WordPress already. You have a red number that says how many updates are required. I don't know, 7. And then you go into the plugin section or the theme section and you see exactly what's needed that needs to update. In my case, Storefront, the theme that I use, required updates, and some non-vital plugins required updates. So you say, right, theme is not going to cause any problem if I update it. Non-vital plugins are not going to cause anything. We just saw that they shouldn't cause anything, right? Well, if I updated this automatically on my site by just bulk updating the theme and those 5 or 6 plugins, I would have broken my site. How do I know? Because I went into my staging, I cloned the website with one click, I bulk updated whatever was required to be updated, and oh my gosh, the headings and the backgrounds are gone. Oh my god, my checkout is messy. What happened? And I had to spend 49 minutes to fix my staging before pushing those fixes back to the live site. If I did it on my live site, what would have been the difference? Those 49 minutes would have been after 24 hours of customers' complaints and after people were giving out to me saying, oh, your checkout is broken, or I can't read your homepage because the backgrounds are gone, or something like that. So you see the difference? That's why a case study is important. It doesn't matter whether it's minor or major or not important to you. You have to test it. You'll never know. Even a minor update could break your site. Okay? So, what do you do if your hosting doesn't provide you with staging? And one idea is to clone your site manually, right? With a plugin or with a other function. Create a standalone version of your site on your subdomain and do the test there. It takes much longer right? But it's a viable way to do that. If you don't have enough time, you can do a little trick. And it doesn't work all the time, but I just wanted to show you. So let's say WooCommerce releases 3.0, bigger version, right? You don't know what's going to happen with it. And you want to make sure that if that breaks your site, you can recover straight away from the old version. The trick is to not delete the previous version. Does that make sense? So you go to your file manager or FTP, right? You enter your plugins folder in this case, and you update the new version of WooCommerce with a different name, right? For example, WooCommerce --new. Okay, so that's your WooCommerce 3.0. Your WooCommerce 2.6 is still there, it's still working, right? There's a little trick. What you do, you switch them. By just switching the name of the file, you're activating the new plugin, you're deactivating the old plugin. Is that complicated, or you get me? Right? So you have the two versions at the same time, but if you change the name of the plugin, it's not going to work. You're going to deactivate. So the new becomes the current becomes the old, right? You go test in your site, does it work? Yeah, awesome. WooCommerce 3.0 is active. You can delete the old version of the plugin. If it doesn't work, awesome. Just change again the names of the plugins, and you're going to reactivate 2.6, and nothing is going to happen to your site unless, apart from those 5 minutes that you were testing. So hopefully there is not much traffic during that time. So you can restore that plugin quickly if something breaks your site. This might not work if it wasn't just a file change, if it was a database update, that might break it. Right, so we're finishing now. 1 second. We have just 2 slides more. After that, we're going to do questions and answers. So I already prepared 2 questions for the panel, which I'm inside as well, so that's going to be interesting. Question number 1, should you update? If you have a WordPress update, a theme update, and a plugin update, which one should you do first? Anyone? Plugin, themes, WordPress, exactly. So it is so confusing, no one knows, possibly, we still don't know what the order is. Trick, stage, test it there, do the bulk update, who cares? If something breaks, you know why. So, doesn't matter, who knows? And this is a big one. So I had clients who were still on version 2.4 in WooCommerce. And they say, yeah, great, I'm going to update to 3.0. But don't forget that after 2.4 there was another major change to 2.5, another major change to 2.6, and there was meant to be a 2.7, but they just skipped to 3.0. So should you jump from 2.4 to 3? Or should you jump from 2.4 gradually to 2.5 to see if you're breaking anything, gradually to 2.6 to see if you're breaking anything, and then eventually to 3.0, or you do the whole thing in one? So that's another question for the panel. And conclusion. If there is a new update, don't update. Read the information first. Okay, so we all agree on this. If you can't find those info, they are somewhere, so go looking for them. Second, I will suggest to hold on a few days after a major update, because they're gonna be, it's like an earthquake, right? After the big one, there's gonna be minor earthquakes after that one. So you have to hold on a few days to wait until all the other plugins and all the other themes, they adjust themselves to the major update. So hold on. And don't forget that 70–80% of the problems with your own site is caused by out-of-date plugins or themes. So there is also this other thing that you have to consider, right? So thank you very much. We're going to continue now with the panel. We can start from these two questions, so we can change completely topic. But I think we could be here talking for 5 hours, and we still don't know certain answers. So the most important thing that you have to consider is never do anything on your live site. Think twice. Thank you very much. Sorry, that was 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thanks for that, Rodolfo.
Okay.
Just going to introduce the panel to you guys. We have Rodolfo from Business Bloomer. He's obviously a WordPress expert and WooCommerce. We have Simon Tomkins from Creating Code, theming expert, and we have Diego Zanella from, I can't pronounce your company's name, Alia. He's a plugin developer. Just a couple of things. I know some of you are first-time people here or early starters with WordPress. There's no such thing as a stupid question, so please don't hesitate. Promise they won't happen. And if they do, you can let us know. So.
Yeah. So maybe can we ask Simon and Diego what they think about the order of updating? Should we update WordPress first, the theme first, or the plugins first? Is that interesting enough? Yeah. Okay. Diego?
Well, the answer is logical.
Logical. Right.
Well, you should have to think, what are you working with? Say, you have WordPress. Now you have something that is supposed to work with WordPress. Then you have something that is supposed to work with that something that works with WordPress. Okay. So which one of them is supposed to know about the changes of the other? So normally it's a plugin. Plugin is supposed to know what WordPress does. WordPress has no idea what plugins you use, so the plugins have to be updated first. Now, and there is also another for that. I develop plugins for WooCommerce, which is an e-commerce. The WooCommerce runs on WordPress. So WordPress has no idea about WooCommerce, no clue whatsoever. WooCommerce has no idea about my plugin whatsoever. It's mine that is supposed to know about both. Okay. So before updating the other two, mine has to be put up to date. So mine is supposed to be able to work on the latest version and on the previous versions. So mine gets updated, keeps working. Oh, nice cream. Okay. It's too loud. Anyway, it's too loud. Anyway, first the plugin has to be updated. Then the e-commerce has to be updated. And then WordPress has to be updated. Because you expect that the new version of each one knows about the version of the other ones. So updating them randomly is a very good way to crash the website completely. And then you have to start reverting. So it does matter in which order you do it.
Thank you.
He is a theme developer, so I want to add that themes normally, they should be merely cosmetic, so they just show stuff. So the themes only interface with WordPress, not with other plugins. So plugin, theme, WordPress, that would be the theory.
WooCommerce overrides.
Yeah, well, that's a different story.
Okay. Simon?
Yeah, well, yeah, you're basically right. I mean, I build and create themes, so I'm a designer and a developer, but yeah, I mean, the new WooCommerce, as you know, David, that broke a lot of things. That was a major update. And I was reading about Storefront's update as well, which was quite extraordinary considering that's an automatic theme.
Yep.
And they didn't do their testing properly. Yep. So, yeah, I mean, so they didn't do their testing properly. So when we're developing themes, we can't stop people from updating immediately. People are going to do that. They're going to be clicking an update, and it's going to happen. As theme developers, we have to be aware when a major update happens. You know, start creating a fix if required, pretty much straight away.
Yeah. How long does it take from the moment, say, WooCommerce releases a major release to the moment you start fixing problems based on that, and then you release the new version?
Well, we try to do it within 24 to 48 hours.
But that's you.
That's. But if you're running an e-commerce shop, your entire livelihood could be damaged if your entire site goes down. So we try to get updates out very, very quickly. Now, not everybody does, and sites go down and sites break. People are going to click update. They're going to do this on live sites. I mean, there's trying to be better education around this to stop clicking updates straight away. They see the yellow bar and they just think straight away they should update it. I think the latest WooCommerce actually made it red. They made a big red error message to say, please, with a big warning symbol to say.
But they still have the link.
Now
they still have the link.
Now instead of ignoring a yellow bar, now
Yeah.
you ignore a red bar.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing.
So yeah, I mean, until there's kind of better knowledge around this type of
Yes.
thing, and people don't just keep clicking randomly at that update, I think you're going to continuously have these problems. But I think education and creating staging sites is the only way to avoid them.
Okay, thank you. Go mad with questions. Yes.
In staging and cloning,
Yes.
when you create the clone,
Yes.
if you've got a connection with your PayPal on the clone site, how do you deal? Do you test that? And you have to prepare to have
See,
another connection to PayPal or whatever. How does
That's
that work?
why I rather spend those €5 for a staging, for a hosting that provides staging as opposed to cloning the site myself. Because when you're staging, whatever you've got on your live site is copied exactly on the staging version. You've got active subscriptions, you've got PayPal connections, you've got third-party APIs, and you've got premium plugin updates. So everything is going to be moved basically to the staging site for a moment. And whenever you push the update back to the live site, nothing is going to happen to your connections. If you're cloning the site, potentially, you have to re-enter your PayPal information, you have to re-enter your APIs for the theme updates, for the plugin update, you have to redo it manually. So staging, nothing is going to happen to your live connections because they're copied exactly as they are. And it's like a website that doesn't really exist. It's a copy, a temporary copy of your site, and that's why it's so handy. Okay.
So if it was like 10 sales in that time.
Ha. Yes, that's. I have the answer to that. Okay, I'll say it quickly, then we move on. That's a big problem. So you're staging a site, you clone the site. In the meantime, and it happens to me because I have a big blog with lots of comments, I get comments on my live version. And when I push back the staging, I lose those comments because the database is different and the files are different, or sales, or anything that requires a new database entry. So in that case, what I do is I test on the staging and then redo the changes on the live. I don't push it back. Or you can decide whether the staging is gonna be pushing just the files and not the database. So that's another cool thing. They will be able to tell you even better. But usually nothing will happen, mostly if you do it on a Saturday night. For me, I get lots of comments, and if I don't do it immediately, I'm going to lose database entries or sales or sign-ups, whatever it is that goes into the database, you're going to lose it. So you have to be careful. Okay? Questions for, yeah?
Diego, Simon, do you want to add something?
Just one thing is that something that you mentioned. It's a double-edged sword if you do updates during off hours, because your off hours are also my off hours. Yep. So if you do an update in the Saturday night and something breaks and it's my fault, his fault, I'm not there. Yep. Period. If you want to have a service during the weekend, unless the company where you buy your software provides 24/7, you either are without or you have to pay for it. True. And overnight and weekend support can be expensive. So it's a double-edged sword. If you do it on the staging side and everything collapses, at least you know, Jesus, this is going to be a complete mess. Luckily, the staging side, I can abandon it. And this weekend, I still have my own quiet time. But when you have to do the change, the actual live change, it's good to know that there is somebody on the other side if something goes wrong. So cannot count as I don't know what to do. Well, your site is down for 2 days. So.
And another underestimated thing for hosting is, do you have 24/7 support or not? That's huge. Is the equivalent to, do you have staging or not? You want to have access to support when your site is broken and not having to wait till Monday morning 9 a.m.
What host company would you recommend apart from WP Engine?
Simon?
SiteGround is really good.
SiteGround.
Sorry?
SiteGround.
SiteGround.
One that was in the presentation that Rodolfo had on the screenshots.
That's the one I use, yeah.
And one thing to add, when you update your website and the website goes down, as Diego said, that's why you need your backup, because then you can restore your site to the previous stage before the update, and your site will continue to work just with the unupdated plugins, core or things. So it's important to have a backup. Other questions?
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on when you're looking at buying or just getting new plugins or things, looking at the last updated in WordPress. How old is too old for it to be updated? When do you stay away from it?
They're perfect for this, so I won't speak of this. We have team developer, plugin developer, perfect.
Like that's one of the first things that I'd usually look at. If it's
Great.
last updated 3 years ago,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, it depends on what a plugin does. There are some plugins that don't need to be updated because they are so basic, so simple that they do not require to be updated. While others should be kept up to date. So there are some people that expect that it's updated every week. Why? You see, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So why do I have to change something? Because every time you change code, say one single character in the wrong place can crash the whole site. So the more you touch something, the higher is the risk that you break it. And so frequent updates can indicate that yes, it's after developed, but this also means that there are some things that need to be fixed. Because as a developer, I don't do some work unless I have to do it. I said, 22 years in the field, a good developer is a lazy one. They don't do stuff just because they have nothing to do, because you're really sabotaging the work you have done. So if it works, don't fix it. So, and if you see there are no updates for a while, it means it's stable. Unless you see, of course, if you go in the support thing, or if you talk to somebody and they don't respond to you, or if you see plenty of threads that discussion that say it's broken, 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 and there is no feedback, well, that's a bad sign. But if people keep getting good reviews and sales, or people keep using it, and it has not been updated in a month or two, why should be a need?
And for a team, is that the same?
It's very similar, yeah. Just check out the comments, check out the changelog. You'll be able to see from the changelog whether it's frequently updated and what the kind of updates they are. But generally people are complaining on comments straight away if things are broken, and they're not shy about it. So yeah, just basically make sure you look in the theme that's looks like it's actively developed. I mean, I think probably themes maybe need to be updated perhaps a little bit more than
Because theme developers rely a lot on WordPress itself.
Yeah. And if you go WooCommerce support, you're going to need to update it to do that. So you have to see it change a lot.
So let's say if it's a WooCommerce team, right? Maybe you want to see what they do, how they react to the latest WooCommerce update. Have they released an update after a few days, or they haven't touched their coding since a year ago? You know, there is a chance that a WooCommerce team might not be reliable if they haven't updated in the last 2 weeks.
And the demo site might work fine, but it might be running the old version of WooCommerce, so they might need to update the demo site. So yeah, the comments are probably best to do that.
Yeah, the demo site might still be running on WooCommerce 2.4, and it looks like it's working. Of course it's working, but then you use 3.0 instead, and then it breaks. So you have to be careful. Plugins, same thing. It's the same story as vital, non-vital plugins. WooCommerce plugins, you have to read the comments and the support. This is working with the latest version of WooCommerce. That's all you want to know.
When you're staging, can you tell WooCommerce not to accept orders? Like you're on holidays or whatever?
Technically,
so you don't
yes.
accept any orders, 'cause you don't want them to vanish.
Yeah, technically yes, but you're stopping your users from being able to check out on your site. I don't think that's a great idea.
Well, the thing is, if it's an Irish site, I'm focusing on people in Ireland, I can do the staging. 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I mean, I see the staging, to be honest. You know, my 49 minutes job there was a one-off event. Usually staging is, boom, stage, update, 5 minutes, back to live. If I'm lucky. This time I wasn't. And still it's not that long time. But in 49 minutes, it's guaranteed I get 2 or 3 comments to my log. So I have to make sure I know what's happening on the live site. I wouldn't stop, though, people from commenting or registering or checking out. Because if you do it once, you might lose the customer of your lifetime. So you never know.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I question to Simon about team builders.
About what?
About page builders.
Oh, page builders.
Page builders.
Okay.
So which one? There are so many of them, and they are so heavy. So when you design a page with a particular page builder like Divi or others, they slow down your websites. They can slow down your website. So which one do you recommend, or what is the trends currently?
Yeah, most popular one is probably Visual Composer, I'd say, Divi as well. Those two are the big ones. Visual Composer is really popular, it's quite easy to use. Do anybody here use Visual Composer? Yeah.
Elementor is another one.
Yeah.
That's the one that
Do you like Visual Composer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Use it on most of my sites now.
Yeah, we have quite a few themes that still support Visual Composer, and
This is very popular.
it's very popular. Yeah, people are used to building that way. And
Which one is? Oh, yeah, go.
no, go ahead. Yeah.
Which one is which one has the least amount of code that adds to your website?
Yeah.
So it's
Site origin is probably.
Site origin is that's true. That's right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean Elementor is a new one which is really excellent. We started using Elementor in our newest themes. Beaver Builder is one as well. Those three are quite good. I mean people like page builders. They like being able to go in and actually change the design themselves, and they're getting more and more powerful. I mean Beaver has a Beaver themer now. You can actually it uses a little bit like advanced custom fields, where you can actually create unique fields on a page as well, and it's really quite sophisticated what you can do with it. But all of these are really amazing, and they're changing web design in a huge way, because people can go in and make really fine-grained controls. You can add rows, columns, images, background images, tabs. I mean, you can pretty much do everything with one of these builders, and you almost don't need a theme in a way, because these are getting so sophisticated and so powerful. If you have a new product or a new event or anything, you can quickly whip out a landing page which can show it off, and it doesn't take a whole lot of designability. A lot of these as well have templates too, so you can click on a template, it'll automatically appear a generic looking landing, and you swap in the text and the images. So this is kind of almost taking over a little bit from themes, because if you have a really good builder, it might have a lot of the functionality that you need. But maybe you don't need a theme for that builder. The answer to those, I like Elementor at the moment. We're starting to use that.
Can I ask guys, we do some work on site, but we have difficulty finding a plugin that will help us stamp files effectively. PDF stamp PDFs. We've come across different versions of, very basic versions of PDF stampers. But to do it proper, like the way Adobe would stamp its file, you put a transparency in it, you put the copyright in the background or whatever. Does anybody know a plugin that we could use for WordPress that would accomplish that?
It's $1 million question.
We use a plugin called Download Manager Pro. Okay, so it kind of tracks stats of downloads. Download like electronic or e-software or whatever, however you want to download from the other side. It tracks stats. So how many people's download, who downloaded, when they downloaded, so and this stamps should be a document. And we just found the support for that particular plugin was terrible. These guys out in Pakistan, wonderful. The support was crap. We just blocked the plugin. It was a great plugin. It was a good plugin. There's nothing wrong with it. But the support was just crap.
But then the functionality was great.
Well, it wasn't really in terms of customizing. We went, for custom development for plugin. It wasn't.
What's the goal of this stamping?
So it's a private document that you download from the data area. Yeah. So the company wants its name stamped on the document that this was downloaded, so the name of the person who's downloading. So you're aware when you get it.
It's like a watermark.
Watermark.
Yeah. Well, we haven't been able to source anything.
That's a tough
Yeah, no, we will not know it. What we'll probably do is researching, 5 or 6 different plugins, take a look at their support, take a look at the latest release. And very important, I think, actually even before the functionality, is how good the support is. Because these two guys know it very well. What people really value when they buy a premium plugin is the support. So if something's not working, you want to have an immediate answer, or you want to have a technical answer. You just don't want to be told, oh yeah, go hire a freelancer. That's probably the most common answer you get when you have a problem. And that shouldn't be the answer. The answer should be, yeah, I know what's going on. I'm gonna fix it in the next release. Or no, your theme is not compatible with that plugin, so find another one. You know, it should be actually, you know, that's what they do, and it works really well in this case. So first thing I do, I don't even take a look at the latest update. I go straight to the support page and see how responsive people are, how technical those answers are. If they're good, I don't worry about how often they update or how good the functionality is. If the support is good, product is good.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Adding the watermark surely will make the site really code heavy, because you're live updating a document every time somebody downloads it. You're basically
Yeah,
adding a
it's
PDF on the fly.
It's a core requirement, I suppose, for that sort of website.
There could be other ways of solving the problem.
We'll figure it out. Post it on the meetup.
Yeah. It's a great opportunity for a non-developer.
Yeah. Reminds us on the if you post it on the meetup page as a comment, we will do it.
Actually,
It's meetup.com/Dublin-WordPress. Or just search for Dublin WordPress on Meetup.
Do we have questions from new users of WordPress? Things you're scared of, or yes?
I use a theme, which is free, and I like it. But because I haven't paid for it, I don't have this full confidence in the development team.
Yes.
Like I haven't paid for any commitment to service or updates. So in building the site, there's this doubt that one day the theme might not get updated, might fade away. Am I making a mistake by using this theme?
Simon?
Oh, what's the theme? Do you remember the name?
It's called Fluida.
Is it a .org? It's a free theme.
Yes,
WordPress.org. How many downloads would it have?
I don't
Is
remember.
it a popular one, or?
I think so, because it's got fast replies to all the questions.
Okay.
So that site seems good.
Okay.
From one developer, the same name who always replies. So
Okay.
far, so good.
Yeah. Well, maybe they have their own website. Maybe they have a pro version of the theme, or do they have a many .org themes have a
They do
professional
have
version?
a paid upgrade. They do.
They have paid upgrade. Okay. Well,
That means
quite-
they're serious.
That means it's serious, yeah. But you know, like anything else, it requires people probably like you to actually pay for the pro upgrade to keep them motivated and to keep them going in keeping those updates going. You know.
Keep them in business.
Keep them in business, yeah. So certainly, if you're doing it on a commercial basis, then I think it's always worth getting a pro license, getting support, and being able to access developers directly.
What's the best practice if you are installing free theme on your website? What should you look out for? Like how many downloads there were, or how many websites are using them? What's your recommendation?
Yeah, well, downloads is usually the first thing to start. Yeah, I mean, just try to find out more about the developers themselves. If they have their own site, what else they've made, how active they are in the community. Is it their first or is it their fifth team? I mean, there's kind of telltale signs. It's all a little bit different depending on the developer, but.
Sometimes they have a blog as well. Like,
Yeah, they have a blog. If it looks like they're activated. I mean, some people make themes that just almost as a hobby, and they maybe keep them going at the beginning, but then they leave them over time. So see how serious they are in actually making a business out of it. If they're serious about making a business out of it, then I think it's probably safe.
And if you consider having a team, you can always email the team developer before you install it on your website, or commit to use the team and check if he replied to your email. If he didn't, probably there's a chance that he's not in the business anymore, and he wouldn't update the team in the future.
If I may add one thing, does everyone know Team Forest? Yeah, teamforest.net. That's where you go and buy themes usually, unless you go to another company.
Like some people may know, some people may not. So could you just briefly say what's that?
Yeah, so Team Forest is where you would purchase premium themes for your WordPress, basically.
So it's a marketplace.
It's a marketplace.
For
And it happens actually on Team Forest. And it happened to me. I used to buy all my themes there years ago, I don't anymore. And the reason is, say a theme I bought 4 years ago, you go back to your dashboard, find out the discontinued support for that theme. That's a major thing. You paid for it 4 years ago, and now it's not updated, the discontinued, and you have to switch theme, and still you paid your money, right? So TeamForest in the last few years have changed their model. It's not just a one-off payment. Now you pay for support and updates as well, right? So they're changing this. They're rewarding team developers and plugin developers because you don't make money with that first sale. Possibly you don't make money either with that support and updates subscription either, but it's good visibility to them. So you have to make sure that the person you're buying things from, whether it's a team or it's a developer, they actually use that on their own site. I believe that's, it could be my number one thing. So if they're using it on their own site, like the currency switcher to sell products, of course the plugin developer who sells the currency switcher has to use that because it's vital to his business. So it's going to be a good product. It has to work. If it doesn't work for him, how can he sell it, right? And the team developer, same thing. Do they actually do beautiful designs? Do they use them on their own sites? Are their demos really nice looking? Do they provide support? Yes, no. So I think, you know, there is no better people than them to actually tell you how to choose from who, but you have to make sure that they're actually users of their own products. I think that's a good rule.
Thank you. Really
Okay.
good balanced answers. May I follow up with something which takes onto this?
Yeah.
In your situation where your theme from ThemeForest was discontinued, when you need to change from one theme to another,
Yep.
is it as big a nightmare as I imagine?
It is. It might be, it might not be. Like if you're changing design and moving to a more modern interface and changing backgrounds and changing from boxed to full width, or then you might as well choose a more modern theme and you have the changes done immediately. If you have to keep your current design after you switch theme, that's when problems come. And I had to do it a lot of times in the last few years, and it's tough. It's tough because it's CSS work, PHP work sometimes, and it's not a 20 minutes job.
No.
It's not as simple as disinstall current theme, install new theme, done. Nah.
Would it be safer to use a team like Storefront because it's a WooCommerce team instead of using some team you saw looks great? I saw a video of that, which I've done, and they don't support it anymore.
Yeah, I mean technically, Storefront it's their baby, right? And Storefront it's their brand representation. It's their team. If Storefront doesn't work, WooCommerce start losing money. So it has to work. It has to be good. Still, in the last release, they broke everything. So you never know. You never know. I use Storefront, but these guys develop themes for a reason because Storefront might be too basic, might be relying too much on WooCommerce, and you want to be sometimes independent of it. He would be able to tell you a little bit better.
So if you are looking for a team for WooCommerce, I would recommend starting from Simon's website because they are always here and you can always ask questions about it.
It's not really part of the service actually.
I'm not affiliated with them.
Simon, you can introduce a premium support option.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on doing that.
As a team developer, how do you go about promoting your teams? Like, say for example, in the ThemeForest or whatever, and you paid $60 or $70 for it 4 years ago. How much are you looking for? Come on, you have to update it now and again. But how do you go about promoting your teams and when you do teams stuff like this?
Yeah, it's tricky. Like we're on ThemeForest, and we also have our own independent shop, and we do them both a little bit differently. On ThemeForest is still a huge marketplace, and still gets a huge amount of traffic. So when you launch a theme, if it's any way good, you will get a colossal amount of people looking at it early on. So you'll get eyes, you'll get people looking at it. Hopefully you'll get some buyers. We launched a new theme last week, actually, on Theme Forest. And we did, for the first time, we've never done it before, but we actually reduced the price. And we reduced the price, not at a permanent discount, but for the first 50 buyers. And it was just, yeah, it was just 50 buyers, and it was just to encourage people to buy it, to try it, to use it. And we've already had people who bought it and used it and are making really cool stuff with it. So we're starting to list some of the sites on the theme page to say, look, what there's a guy who's a photographer site using it. There's a guy who's like a expat kind of nomad kind of website. So there's some really interesting uses for the theme already. And that hopefully will encourage other buyers to see it's not a theme that has like 3 sales, it has 50 sales, and there's some real world websites using it, not just the demo, but other people using it. So we're going to raise the price, obviously, but you know that's to give it an initial kind of traction, to give it an initial kind of kick, and then hopefully people will kind of trust it a bit more. Because I know myself when I look at a theme, if it has 5 sales, I'm probably not going to buy it. You know, I don't know if that theme is going to be maintained, it's going to be developed further. It might be beautiful, but if it's those developers, it's kind of a dead duck. If 5 sales is gone, there's no point in that developer to keep updating that every 6 months. He's not making any money from it, or she's gone. So you need a theme which actually has sales, which has a bit of traction, you know, for that to be continues to be updated and approved as well.
Just one quick follow-up question on his as well. So within the same team developers, within the same agency, if you want to change things in a couple of years' time with the same agency, will that usually be quite easy to update rather than changing to a different agency?
Sorry, do you mean agency?
Oh, well, sorry, team developers.
Team developers.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean team developers?
So are yours all built similarly so that it's an easy update rather than moving to somebody else?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think all of our WooCommerce themes are built similarly, and all of our business themes are actually done similarly. Our new theme is much lighter. It doesn't use Visual Composer for the first time. It uses Elementor. So if you want to just quickly switch that and you were using Visual Composer, you're losing that. So our other themes, yeah, would have been easy to update, but yeah, I mean, you have to make a call on that, whether you keep on using the same model every time or do you try to do something slightly different. Our latest theme was kind of more of a blogging, magazine, newspaper theme, so it perhaps doesn't need a page build to the same degree as a business theme would. So
I just find from my experience using Teams and Team Forest, they're so bloated, you know, there's so much options, which is just half the stuff you wouldn't even use, which obviously adds weight to the site. Download the site speeds and so on, you know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but you see, again, every developer is quite different. I mean, like if you go for Avada, you go for the X theme, this kind of stuff, these are multi-purpose giant themes. There's plenty of authors that create really good stuff that's lighter, but you just need to fish them out. Our latest theme was based upon last week's meetup, which was speed. So we've got sort of 100 out of 100 in all of our speed tests. So it's an incredibly fast, quick theme, which loads just in over a second. So we've detailed that on our theme page to say why this theme is a useful, good theme to buy. But you know, that's for the kind of theme this is. If you're trying to be the kitchen sink, like Avada is, or the X theme, you kind of need to have, because people just keep asking for more and more, and people want more choices, more options, more features. So
I think that's why it's important when you're in Theme Forest, you actually spend like a couple of hours finding the right theme for your needs, rather than a
day like a Team Forest.
It's important.
It's a nightmare. Well,
but it's like weeks afterwards.
You'll reap the benefits with the speed though. Anyway, sorry guys, we have time for one final question.
Can I just, I think, conclude, still talking about Team Forest, because Simon said they are on Team Forest and also they sell on their own site. And Diego, I guess, you're not on Team Forest anymore.
No,
right?
I am with one product.
You're with one product. So there is this trend.
The tax display.
There is a trend, right, where
it's a tax display.
If I'm right, you use Team Forest to create your community, but then the actual money is probably made on your own website. Is that more or less?
Well, there's still lots of money to be made on Team Forest. I think having your own site is a slower process.
Yeah.
You need to start building traffic. You need to start building you know, it's a slightly slower process. But yeah, long term, that's where we want to be. Which is not relying on Team Forest. And I think that's how more and more people are moving towards, is being in control.
And Diego?
I only put one plugin there just to have a foot in the door.
And
Just to have my presence.
how do you get traffic to your site then?
I contribute communities. I'm on groups and things. But people, it's word of mouth. Only recently, Martin is helping me with some marketing. But until like a year ago, I never spent 1 minute in active marketing.
Yeah.
I was just going, participating in the groups and showing my name. Then they were asking if I had a solution. Somebody said, "Oh, I use it. It's actually good." They don't trust me because I'm the seller, but they trust somebody who uses it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I could promise anything.
And you use it on your site.
Everything I develop is for my own use.
There you go.
Could you say again, how do you contribute whenever?
I just monitor if there is any question I can answer. Or
So you help people know how
there are people in Facebook groups in my case, for WooCommerce, and they ask questions. It could be simple or complicated, so I can tell them how to fix things, how to solve things. Sometimes free little code snippets, which is just takes me like 5 minutes, and they can just see, oh yeah, well, I have another question. Then they start building a content, and they say, oh, I have a bigger project. Well, I can have a solution that works already.
Alright.
So they can start building connections with that, and then my name is in the group.
Can you build trust with it?
Yes, because people see in public what I tell people, and if there is any complaint or any praise, they see everything there. It's all transparent, so they can see what people are doing. So any developer that participates in the groups can expose himself to the community without saying marketing, promote. This is the best thing in the world out of context. When somebody else in the community says, I agree, it actually works wonderfully. Really, it seems expensive. No, it's not.
It's like TripAdvisor.
Actually, you like the snowball effect? Because sometimes customers complain that something is expensive, complicated, and then some people chime in and say, but actually use it. It's actually much cheaper than you think, and it works wonders. I increase the sales. I don't have to do anything more. It's just that they just come to me.
Brilliant.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much, guys.